What's up, game changers and rays of sunshine? You guys, I have an exciting video. It is in the air with Juniper Bloom Mystique. I am an Ascension Master, Healer, and Divine Guide. We are going to be talking about this portal of this week. It is very big. It is a portal, but only one you can enter if you choose the right energetic tide. That's how they all are. Revelations 21:12. Boom. All right, so welcome to the return of Christ, you guys. How's it going? I'm so excited. This is going to be all about the summer solstice coming and the full moon. Let's get into it because there's some darkness brewing too. All right, so I channeled a message from the angels this morning, as well as I have my cards. I am burning some juniper sage right here, right now. And I have some crystals to do some energy healing and releasing in the end of this video. Okay. So we are going to talk about the energies this week because it's quite important. There's something you need to know. Oh boy, is there. And this is a portal. This is an energetic shift portal that you need to be ready for. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. So we're just going to talk a little bit more about that. I'm just lighting my sage a little bit more because I really want a clean space. So I remove all negative thoughts and energies that come into this space. Only thoughts of, blah, blah, blah. That would be a blooper, right? Only positive comments, please. Okay. Do not assume anything about me, and I won't assume anything about you, for I am the return of Christ, and that is true, and that is proven if you have an open heart and can see what is true. Okay. There are false things, false information all around you. The whole world you came from lied, and then lied again to you. Okay. From the Bible to everything. Oh my gosh. They are so monitored, so regulated, and they lie to you about everything, including the Jesus complex. Okay. What does that mean? Does Jesus exist? Yes, he did. And on Wednesday, I'm going to do a deep dive into that as well. Okay. There is this video I found that I'm going to talk about and I'm going to show you on Wednesday. And it's Jesus versus Horus. Now, I found that significant because on the return of Christ journey that I brought through as I was bringing it through, it was happening to me, right? Happening through me, I should say. And during that, there were the timelines of the return of Christ. And I'm going to deep dive into those and what they meant. And explain Jesus versus Horus. You guys, there's so many information out there that is false. Okay. And everybody is so anchored into it. They don't realize that what they're saying isn't even true. Okay. Trust that it's beyond you. Trust that there's so much more that you need to let go of so you can see the truth and allow the truth to rise through. Okay. So on Wednesday, I'm going to deep dive into Horus versus Jesus, the timeline of the return of Christ, how it all unfolded. Okay. Because I am so lucky and so blessed to be the one. I got to bring it all through. All right. It was amazing. It was mind blowing, purely authentic, things I didn't even know was happening. And trust me, it almost killed me too. And it did kill my twin flame. I got a new walk-in. Okay. So it was a difficult journey nonetheless. But anyways, because of that, we are going into these portals of rising. And this, my friend, is a very big portal of rising. This is the summer solstice, full moon portal rising. They come one day after the other. We have the summer solstice on the 20th, and then we have the full moon rising on the 21st. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what's going on because there's something you need to know. There's absolutely something you need to know. It's bigger than just tune into the energies. Okay. It's bigger than that. They showed me some things occurring that will also be occurring during this portal. They're already occurring, but they've planned like a big one during this portal. And it's not of the light. CERN, like that CERN thing. Like they are using some energy to mess with you. Okay, so we're going to deep dive into that. So first we're going to talk about the summer solstice, the energies of the summer solstice. Then we're going to talk about the energies of the full moon. And then we put them together into this portal that is coming through because remember, they're coming kind of at the same time. Now, the summer solstice is representative of the sun. Okay. The sun, Sekhmet, I dried the Nile, called back my lifetime of Sekhmet, but that was not my only one, right? That was part of the return of Christ. You guys, this is important to know. This is not about expectations, right? Because people are going to look at me and go like, yeah, right. No, it's true. You need to understand something. There really is no separation between Jesus, Sekhmet, and Eve, and Mary Magdalene, and who am I forgetting? I don't know. They're all kind of the same soul, but there were actually different lifetimes. Okay. And in the return of Christ, which is why I'm going to deep dive into that further on Wednesday so that people can really get the clearer picture, because the return of Christ is real. It's quite vast, and it takes a lot of processing and a lot of healing and releasing shadow to see it all clearly. Okay. So the more you hear it, the more you understand, the more you actually watch those workshops and videos that I've posted, like the whole way through, right? And allow your attention span to expand into what is vast and what is true. Okay. Because it's quite profound. The return of Christ deals with the sun and the moon more than you know, right? One of the first things I did was remove all darkness from the moon. And there were several of those that I had to do during the return of Christ. And well, actually in the sun, the sun didn't have darkness necessarily, but they did something to it. Okay. And I'm getting chills as I'm talking about that. So the significance of the sun and the moon is what they want me to talk about first. Because remember, I'm channeling. So when I look up, I'm looking into nothingness. There's actually my window right there. So, and the curtains are closed. So I promise you, I'm just channeling. But so the sun and the moon is significant in the return of Christ. Okay. Consider Adam and Eve. They were taken down and they kept trying to come back to redeem it. All right. And when they did that, they would mess with further parts of Christ's light, including the sun and the moon. There's a lot of people thinking, we're in this flat earth and there is just this filament and the moon and the sun is fake. And that is not true either. The false moon was fake. All right. I had to actually kill it. You know, the blood of the crest of the moon. If you actually did the return of Christ, the path to righteousness, you would go through those healings. You would remove all of that darkness from you that was on the moon that I did. And when I finished that, it created this crust because I killed the false crusting around the moon. And that actually played out. They called it the blood moon. It was a crust on the moon. And then in the final one, when Horus rose, Horus versus Jesus, right? I cracked the moon and that blood casing fell off, that crust, right? And so the moon is expanding. Oh, is he expanding? And you guys, Jesus is alive on this earth, okay? So is Horus, so is Adam, so is Eve, Sekhmet, and Mary Magdalene, okay? We are here. Now, the sun and the moon are very, very, very pivotal and very important to understand. You guys, they're very real. They are very pivotal. They are very important to understand. And before they were healed, I cared nothing about them. I avoided them like the plague. That's not a joke. I used to people were like all ritualistic with the moon and Mount Shasta, right? And those are related, by the way. It was part of the false veil, the control, the anchoring into falseness, the manipulation. They shortened your lifespan. They changed your seasons. That's what the weather patterning changes were, and things like that. But it's all been undone. Those chemtrails you're actually seeing now have chemicals in them. I actually did a healing on somebody and they had the vid, and it came through that it's in our air. They're actually releasing those. So when they say chemtrails, you need to take that further. Okay. Oh, the tangled web we weave, my friends. The tangled web we weave. And I'm going to slow down because this information is vast, but super important. And all the proof I have, you can say it's not proof, but that's because you've never watched all the videos and you haven't worked with me. Okay. And then your shadow will also try to convince you otherwise, because that's what darkness does. That's the veil. So remember, wherever darkness lies within you, you cannot see the true ties to God. Okay, God is not what they had here. God was not here anymore. There was no Christ light here. They stole your planet and you were all held hostage. And that is the truth. Okay. And then they would take little bits of truth and manipulate you through it. And so many people are anchored into those truths. It's insane. Okay. But I mean, that's not your fault. That's just what they have done to you. All right. That is the darkness and what they have done to you, my friends. Okay. So let me explain the sun and the moon a little bit more. When I started bringing around the return of Christ, I had a Kundalini awakening that was sudden. I didn't ask for it. It came through after some things happened in my life and I started going within. I was a therapist myself and therapy was not helping what had happened. And so I went within. All right. Number one, you spark an awakening by going within. Boom, boy, did I. I had an awakening before I had a Kundalini awakening. So I started awakening and all these things started happening to me. And one of the first things God showed me was the Bible. And words started popping off and they turned to ash. And he showed me that there was a lot of words in there that are not true. Okay. And not just the Bible. Consider everything they can continue telling you through history is so false. There's so much falseness to it. Okay. Including the timeline of reality. Adam and Eve were first. Okay. That was Atlantis. The flood God did not cause, my friends. Okay. And then in the return of Christ, it was Adam and Eve. Then it was Jesus and Mary Magdalene timeline. And then it was Sekhmet and Horus. And Sekhmet and Horus was the final components of the sun and the moon. Okay. But it started in the very beginning of my journey. I began just doing little things, like learning to meditate. All of a sudden I was healing people, seeing crazy things. So I kept getting these images. God told me I was not like anybody else. And where most people would be like, yay, I'm going to utilize that. I was like, shit, that sucks because I'm already not like everybody else. Right. And people can be mean. So it's like, great. People, what good is that going to do if I'm not like anybody else? It hurt me at first, but I didn't get a clear perspective on that. And then he said, I was here to change the world. I needed to allow myself to be myself, accept every bit of who I was, change the world, and watch the world change. And I was like, what? Like, that sounds so like cheesy and generic. Like, what does this mean? And at the time I was learning that I was a healer. I was a very powerful healer and one that nobody could compare to. Like, people didn't know what was happening to me. You hear about remote viewing and you hear about astral travel. Well, I was doing something beyond that. Okay. And I'm getting chills as I'm talking about this. So they really like me talking about this right now. I don't talk about it a lot. Because I'm not like everybody else and everybody else is in their ego and wanting to be better than everybody. Right. So, when I heard that, I shut down. I'm like, I'm out. I'm already different. Oh my gosh. Anyways. So I heard that statement. And it was like those 4 sentences, whatever it was, and it would ruminate through my head. I'm like, what does this mean, God? So I thought, because when I started doing these healings, I would like come outside of my body. So I'd go into meditation and my head would like flop over like this. Like my vessel was not being used. Literally, it was alive, but I would detach. I would come outside of myself. And at first, the healings that I were doing were very remote. They weren't even online. I just had people randomly coming to me asking for healings, or I would see something and God would be like, offer. And I was like, hey, I think I can help you. And they're like, okay. And so I would just tune in, and in tuning in, my head would literally flop over and I would come out of my body and I could see myself. I know now it's my soul, but it was like this white mist, and I would come out and I would start like walking away. And then the next thing I knew, I would just boom, be right where they were. So I wouldn't see the in between. It was just like instant transition and I was right where they were. And of course, this is through permission. Okay. So in that, everything's through free will, through God. So I would get visuals. I would see what they were wearing, or see a blanket or slippers or something that I could say, hey, I see this. And it would validate that I was there with them. And then, Jesus, or I think it was Jesus that was usually with me in the beginning. Now, this is significant too, because eventually he stopped showing up, and I'm going to tell you why. Because his soul is returned and he's actually alive on this planet right now. And I didn't know that right away, but he was my DM. Okay. But at this point, I would just exit my body and I would go to them and I would just draw up light. I see the light. It's pure white. I use the light. Okay. And not my own light. I would use Christ's light. So it was coming down before I healed the earth. Now that I've healed the earth, I'll also draw it up because I brought down Christ's light at one point. Okay. Are you staying with me yet? So I thought when God said that I was going to have to allow myself to be myself, accept every bit of who I was, change the world and watch the world change, was because I was doing medical grade healings. Like I would go into these people, I would take on their symptoms, seizures, fevers, like Parkinson's and things like that. And I was actually going into their system and seeing right down to the cause of it. That's not a joke. And I would go right into the cause, and it was all this light that would come through, and God would give them options of soul choice, like literally. And I'm like, whoa. And I could see what caused Parkinson's disease. I'm not going to talk about that here. It has to do with your pineal gland, it has to do with fluoride, has to do with lots of things. Okay. And then your genetic relation to how you react to those things. That's part of it. Okay. I was shown what causes autism. It's not Tylenol, although Tylenol is not good for you, and neither is any medications. And why would that be? Because they block your receptors of reality. Okay. Anything that blocks your receptors cuts you off from reality. And it can probably cause some genetic hiccups, okay? But it wasn't the cause of autism. So I was shown that. I was shown all of these things in medical healings. And I'm like, this is scary, because I have a background in psychology and in the medical field. And I'm like, okay, I can't sit here and claim I'm doing this because that's outside of my scope. I'm not a licensed physician. And so I was just doing it as the healings. I was saying what I was getting. I was doing the best that I could. And I was literally healing things I'd never thought possible. A heart machine one time. Somebody was sent home terminal. I got a phone call in the middle of the night. I think it was 3 or 4 healings later, and that person was no longer terminal, going up their stairs, driving their car to their friend's house, and acting like they were 20 again, like no joke. So these things were blowing my mind. And I thought, okay, that's how I'm going to change the world. I need to allow myself to be different, right? And I'm like, shit, what do I need here? How do I do this? What's going on? What's happening? And nobody could help me. I kept trying, and everybody was limited to understanding what was happening, including myself. Okay. So that's how it all started. And then it started going into meditations and doing things to the earth. Now, once that started, I went to Uruguay one time, and I just rose the vibration there. Turns out it was really low. Then I started clearing Mount Shasta. That's kind of what this depicts, because there was hundreds of souls trapped there. And we're talking little kids to adults and women. Something very tragic happened at Mount Shasta, and that's where I burned Archangel Samael in number 2. He was the original fallen. That's what you call El Diablo. And his soul or whatever was trapped under there. That's where he would kind of manipulate from, and they stole the all-seeing eye and put it over darkness. Okay. And then they would continue to have bloodshed there. They stole the Earth's root chakra to there from Fiji. That is the Earth's root chakra. Okay. Because I took it back. After clearing Mount Shasta, I released all the souls, healed the root chakra, moved it back to Fiji. And then in part 2, I returned the triangle with the eye back to Fiji, opened up the God portal at Fiji, cut off life support to California and Mount Shasta, and burned Archangel Samael while I was undoing his contract. Okay, that's what undid your veil. That's why you couldn't see who you were. It was a veil of illusion, because they kidnapped this earth. That's what you guys need to realize. Okay. They stole this freaking earth. They stole souls. They stole the earth. They contaminated it, and they removed all of Christ. Not only that, they would use all of Christ's light and power against himself, against mankind, against all of you. Okay. So then from there, it went to the first pyramid I activated, which was Fiji, because I was doing Mount Shasta and Fiji. I activated the pyramid of Fiji. And then in Fiji part 2, I opened the God portal. Then I went to Lake Titicaca. Okay. And all this is on my Ascension playlist, but you have to watch, you have to pay attention to the videos, because God is vast. Okay. Everything I do is very vast, and it takes a lot for your soul and your body and your consciousness to process and understand and see it all. Okay. But there is so much proof there if you actually take the time to do it. Because when I would do these things, something would happen on the earth that correlated with what I did and what I said. Okay. So then I went to Lake Titicaca, which is where the sun was reborn. That is where Eve rose. That is where I saw myself die in Atlantis. That was the hub of Atlantis. Spirit showed me that later on. Okay. Not yet, but that came when I activated the dormant chakra system, and I healed all of the Adam and Eve timeline. And I was reborn in Lake Titicaca. Okay. And then later, so was the Incas and Mayans. That was recently. But going back to my first experience with Lake Titicaca and the sun. Okay, this is relevant, you guys. You need to know this because this is the reality of what happened to all of you, what happened to God, what happened to your sun and the moon, and why this portal is so important. So if you don't know the truth about the sun and the moon, can you get all you can going through it? No. Okay. So God wants me to talk about this. Then we're going to talk about the summer solstice, full moon portal, what you need to do, what they're doing to you during this portal, and what you need to watch out for. And then I'm going to give you some tools. We're going to pull some cards and I'm going to do a healing. Okay. So stick with me. This is one of the most important videos. I promise you. And this is for the energy for this week. So I'm so excited. All right. And you can actually watch these unfold during the return of Christ. God had me upload it. I did not upload those at first. Not all of them. That came after the work was done. Because I was doing them in workshops and I didn't know they were coming. So God would say, hey, we're going to go do a healing at Fiji. And I'm like, okay. And everybody coming was like, why Fiji? And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't know. We had to learn after we did it. So I would do the work and then I would process what just happened. And I'm like, I just took my light and activated a pyramid underwater, like literally would drain my own light from the Kundalini awakening. Okay. It's your life force energy. And I was prompted or guided to put it into the pyramids, to twist them, to move them, to activate them, to awaken them, and to write Christ's light all on their sides. Okay. Now, at first, I was activating feminine pyramids. Okay. But in Lake Titicaca, when I went there, I saw myself die there. I processed my death. I was Eve. Okay. And I was like, this took me a long time to process. I'm like, oh my God, this can't be real. And then so many proof would come through. And I'm like, I can't deny this. And it would get overwhelming and I would cry. And I was also processing the work I was doing. Like it was intense. Okay. But after that, something at Lake Titicaca was buried there and I unearthed it and I returned it to the sun. It was the language of the sun. So when I died there, I saw the white flame go out. The white flame was removed from the earth, and that is God's light. That's who I am. Okay. Literally the white flame. And now I see myself glowing a white light every time I do certain things. I'll just start glowing this white light, especially at Sekhmet and all these other things that I did. And then I talk to the council and I'll just glow white light with my staff. It's insane. But at first I saw that light go out. And I returned the language back to the sun because sun, Sekhmet, God of the sun, God made Eve and Adam, God made the sun and the moon. Yeah. Is it kind of clicking yet? Okay. Sekhmet is not just the God of the sun and they lie to you about everything. If God made Sekhmet, nobody's Sekhmet's mother, right? God made Eve and Adam in that order. Eve and Adam. Adam split from Eve to be her protector and her guide, and he is the masculine and she is the feminine, and they are two of the same. So it is not just Jesus, you guys. We need to undo the false Jesus complex, okay? Jesus didn't return only. Adam and Eve returned, then the soul of Jesus and Mary Magdalene returned, and then the soul of Sekhmet and Horus returned. And it's all the same soul. Back to Adam and Eve. Okay. So really, in truth, God talked about it needs to be understood that this is the return of Adam and Eve, not just Jesus. Okay. But we would understand that if the DM stepped up all the way and people could see clearly, because he is the eye of Horus and I am the eye of Ra in the brain. Okay. You see what they did? They messed with you so bad with the feminine and the masculine removal, lying about these things and just confusing the crap out of people. And they did that on purpose. And so now everybody's anchored into this false stuff and they come at me like I need to be educated. And I'm like, oh no, sunshine, please do not do that. Okay. I know who I am. I know what I've done and I trust what I hear directly from Creator. Not only that, you guys, the return of Christ was very real and it wasn't what you thought. Okay. And I was doing the work. So when the language of the sun was returned, after that, I started undoing the darkness of the moon. And those are on my Ascension playlist. You can actually watch those, okay? You might be able to actually get some healing in those. I think one was a guided meditation that I posted to YouTube. Some of the workshops, though, are just for you to witness, unless you do the path to righteousness, because it's only for the purer of hearts, okay? Not those that are going to judge me and, you know, all of that, because that will hurt you, okay? So when I started undoing the darkness of the sun, I returned the language back to her. She didn't have darkness to remove, but they stole her language. They stole her light, and it was like buried into Lake Titicaca. Now, when I died there, I signed a contract that we would never rise again. I was pissed because Adam killed me on accident. That's the truth. Okay. They turned Adam against Eve. Adam accidentally killed Eve by choosing a false goddess. Blinded us both, got us both out of balance, division, and then they turned one against the other. And this is what they would always do each lifetime we would come back. Okay. And the next one, the Jesus and Mary Magdalene, they had Mary Magdalene help create the false veil, or the Holy Grail, which was not holy at all, and all of that. And that's a whole nother thing. Okay. And Jesus was murdered. He was not killed like you think he was. He did not die for your sins. That makes absolutely no sense. God would not do that. Okay. First of all, no, that makes no sense. You guys, everything they taught you just absolutely makes no sense. And it's not God. God is pure, unconditional love. God is not bloodshed. God is not sacrifice. He would never sacrifice his son for your sins. That is absolutely just not true. Okay. But this is part of what they would tell you. That way you felt free and safe to do whatever you wanted to do. God doesn't have to forgive you though, because he's all forgiving. Okay. It's you who has to choose love and let go of all that was not. You have to correct your karma. Okay. That's not up to God. That's up to you. All right. So then the sun, they stole the language. The white flame went out and left this earth. Okay. Then it got worse and worse and worse after that. Every time they would make it deeper. Every time we would come back, they would take more away of Christ. All right. Until this time, I actually survived. And I still don't know how. I still don't know how I survived sometimes. And God was astonished too, because he expected that we wouldn't make it this time either, but we did. But it took great sacrifice, you guys. I had to let go of my twin flame and get a walk in and still battle that. So a lot of sacrifice, when honestly, I just deserve the love. We all do. But there's always something trying to keep that apart. Okay. So any twin flames, there's a lot of shadow that tries to keep them apart. That's why it requires a lot of internal healing. Okay. But from the sun at Lake Titicaca, I returned the language back to her. And then the first healing on the moon I did. And I returned. Okay. So when I first started undoing the darkness of the moon, you guys, there was like 6 to 8 of those, but there's only like 1 or 2 or 3 posted on YouTube. Okay. There was a lot of darkness on the moon. All right. Thoth killed Horus. Okay. And that's when he stole the light of the moon. And you know how they talk about they went to the moon and Armstrong and all that was so freaking fake. But they still told you pieces of the truth because there was entities there and they did commandeer the moon. The Truman Show, God showed me, was actually quite spot on for what I did later on after I did it all. And when I watched that movie, he kept trying to escape to Fiji. And I didn't understand. That was like, oh my God, like, am I really seeing this? Like he was trying to escape to Fiji and being controlled by the moon. So the first healing I did on the moon, I cut this like, it was like the satellite thing, and they were watching you. They were listening to you, and you can watch that one. And in that, I said a satellite is going to fall from the sky, and it did less than 18 hours later over Oregon. It just randomly fell, and they don't know why. And I posted the proof under that video. And I also said the next time they listen to you, their ears are going to bleed. Okay. And that started the darkness removal of the moon. And I did some other things in there. I can't remember because it's been since like 2020. But you can watch that one on my YouTube Ascension playlist. Super important, you guys. Okay. That started the removal of the darkness of the moon. Then came the timeline of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Now in Jesus and Mary Magdalene, I didn't do a lot to the sun and the moon. I did some things. We kept removing like shadow of the moon throughout the whole entire time, deep layers, shadows of the moon, and so on. Okay. But when Jesus and Mary Magdalene came into play, they're twin flames, Adam and Eve, same soul, different lifetimes, because I took back all of those souls. So did my DM as we rose. That's true. Okay. So I'm going to talk about that more on Wednesday with Horus versus Jesus. But with Jesus and Mary Magdalene, it was more about undoing the Holy Grail, activating all the feminine pyramids to the masculine pyramids, uniting with my twin soul, and battling the deep blue sea. So the first one was like the red dragon, they called it, and that was fighting Mount Shasta to Fiji to Lake Titicaca to the sun. And each one of these, you guys, I was attacked. Okay. And I would have to stand strong. I couldn't allow the shadow to stop me. I couldn't focus on negativity, had to keep my vibration very high, had to follow those nudges of my heart space, even though I didn't know what was happening or what it meant, and everybody was judging me through it and treating me like crap and not as like mind blown as I was, because they still couldn't see what was happening all the way. Right. And then their shadow would take over, especially with my DM. So that's when the attack happened. And then I spent a whole year fighting for my soul, and I almost died 3 times. Okay. And they almost stopped the ascension. And during that timeline, my DM had taken off with the fallen, our souls had united, then he took off with the fallen. He tried to rip my soul out of my body because he couldn't see. His heart was black. He was not healed. We didn't heal him in time. It was a mess. Okay. And I didn't understand it. You guys, I was not aware what was happening to me. It was just happening through me. And it was so mind-blowing, so overwhelming. And then I started bringing down Christ's light after I brought down the blood of Christ. And I didn't understand that. I'm like, ew, I'm actually cleansing the earth with his blood. Like, why would we do that? I didn't understand that at first. To me, that was kind of weird, right? Like, why would I take Jesus's blood? I put it in the crystalline grid into some of the water, but not everybody is allowed to receive the anointing of Christ, period. Okay. Let me repeat that. Not everybody is allowed to receive that. Only certain parts of the earth did. Okay. And I was moving like waterways. We were clearing up, like, I'm telling you, cutting off life support to California at these times. There was lots going on. I was doing something almost every day. And then the Jesus timeline, after I did the anointing of the blood of Christ, my DM was still alive. Then I started bringing down Christ's light through the rays and in the heart space and stuff. And none of that is on YouTube. That's only in the path to righteousness for the lucky few that hear the call to that. Don't mock that, because it is the return of Christ. It's the actual work of the return of Christ. So if you take that path, you are rising through with the one who brought it about. It's not a joke, and it kicks your ass, and your shadow will attack you. Like, you have to be strong. And so it's not for everybody. So God, in the end, had me put it into something called the path to righteousness. And I'm like, really? Is this real? And he's like, yeah. And of course, people judged me, and it hurt. And I would argue with God, and God said, you need just believe in who you are. And I'm like, oh, here we go back to that first statement, right? Allow yourself to be yourself, accept every bit of who you are. Okay. So the Jesus and Mary Magdalene was more about the blood of Christ, and in the Holy Grail, that was a big thing. Okay. That made more sense to me when I cleared the Holy Grail, why I was cleansing the earth with his blood. Do you guys understand why they talk about the anointing of the blood of Christ? Do you know what they did to Jesus for real in Mary Magdalene and his blood? Yeah, I'd watch that video because it was undone live on Christmas Day on this channel. Okay. Then from there came more the Sekhmet and Horus timeline. So after my twin flame and I united, in the energy mostly, he died. I got a walk in. I almost died 3 times. Like, the attacks were insane. My body swelled. I got scars on my feet because my heart became enlarged because I was activating pyramids and being attacked. Guys, it did truly almost kill me 3 times. I got a blood clot that was broke free to my brain. And in all this time, the angels are healing me. Like, I'm getting all these healings from the beings that be, from all of this stuff. And at first, Jesus, when I set his soul free, my DM wasn't ready to take that on. So his soul went into the Garden of Eden, the flower. And I was like, that is the weirdest thing. Why didn't it go up? I couldn't figure that out. It wasn't until recently my new DM actually got that soul piece back. And then he also got the Horus piece back. Do you understand that? I'll deep dive into that on Wednesday. But you guys, then came the Sekhmet and Horus timeline, which was more the sun and the moon. Okay. So the moon is not the same moon. It's been completely reborn. It's got new DNA. It's connected to my new DM. It's a new DNA moon. Okay. It's brand new. It's a new moon. I'm not kidding you. It's been released from all that darkness. It's expanding in real form. It's been moved. I moved those, and I shifted the poles also throughout all this work. And I created 5 more because I took us into 7D. That was also very real. We went into the Pleiades galaxy during the Jesus and Mary Magdalene timeline, because I stood strong even against my own DM this time, and I survived what I shouldn't have survived. And I kept bringing down more healing, and we even cleared Salem message. Like, we cleared all darkness out of this earth. Catholicism was undone. There were supposed to be more people helping me, but in the end, I did a lot of it by myself, and it wasn't supposed to be that way. So when I say I did it, a lot of people get mad at me about that. And they're like, oh, that's ego. I'm like, no, dude, it's not. Like, I wasn't supposed to do this. People were supposed to help because that was what they undid in their lifetimes, right? Not me. Okay. You feel me? So people had purpose in it. They were supposed to rise with me. There were supposed to be at least 10 people rising with me, what you might call the apostles, undoing what they created in their lifetimes through it. Okay. So each one of those souls had a purpose in removal of light, and it was their redemption time too. And unfortunately, I'm going to let that be. Okay. In the end, I had to do a lot of it by myself, and I'm okay with that. I sacrificed everything, but it did hurt me physically. Okay. Now the sun and the moon have been so changed. It's not even funny, you guys. This is why I'm full circling back now to the sun and the moon portal that we are in. And I know you may not want to hear this again, but I would say I would listen to it over and over again until it really sinks into your soul. Watch the videos. You need to understand, because it's beyond your mental capacity. All right. This is God's work. It took me a long time to understand what was happening to me, what I was feeling, what I was going through, what I was surviving through, and somehow rising through, even though I had a veil to come through as well. Okay. So take your time with it. So now, in the end, the Sekhmet and Horus portal came, and all of our souls are returned. I dried the Nile after I turned it blood red. That happened, I think, in June of 23. A year ago now, I dried the Nile and the energy. I cleared the crystal that was in the core of the earth from darkness to light. They broke ours, thought it was destroyed, but I repaired it. And I returned light into the core of the earth. The whole earth was filled with blackness. They stole it. They stole it and removed all of God. God was not here. We had to remove the language of God and everything. And I returned that too. That's relevant for the sun. Are you hearing me? The language of God. Full circle moment. In Lake Titicaca, I returned the language back to the sun. And then during, I think, the Jesus and timeline, after all of that, I brought back the language of God when I was activating some of the pyramids. And this goes with the Hopi prophecy. They kept showing me that too, but I've still to this day never listened to that. But it's all there. Okay. You're following me so far? It's a lot, let me tell you. You guys, when I tell you right now that this week is a portal, it's a God portal. All of them are. You have to be pure of heart. You have to not mock God, not judge me or anybody for that matter, because those things are not of God. You can't do things outside of God. Money cannot be your guide. Fear cannot be your guide. And that's important for this portal too. It's important for every portal, because those are the temptations that are going to come up against you. Addictions, fear, anything of the matrix. Okay. And if you choose any part of the matrix, you don't fully rise. That's not a joke. That's Revelations 21:12. There's actually 13 portals to rise through. Okay. 13 gates. This one is big because after Sekhmet returned, so I turned the Nile blood red. I didn't know it was coming. I thought we were just getting gifts, and the angels took me to a body of water. They put my feet in it. And when my feet were in this body of water, all of a sudden, all this energy started dropping down through me and into the water, and the water turned to blood. And I'm like, oh my God, that's freaky. Like, why is this? This is like, I was like, what is happening? And I couldn't process it until after I was doing it, because I channeled these through. And then I replaced the darkness of the core of the earth to light, and I crushed it and shot it out against the collective whole of a karmic playback, because Sekhmet was murdered and so was Horus. Okay, Horus was murdered by Thoth. I don't know if that's who murdered Sekhmet or what, but they were twin souls. God, okay. Actually, I don't know. They may have had a mother. It's so confusing though, because these are different lifetimes. These are different timelines, and they don't align with what history tells you. They don't. Okay. History is so off from the truth, but they give you little fragments of pieces of the truth so that you believe them. So that it hits something in your heart and you believe it. Okay. So, I only know what has come through. I haven't asked for every single detail in the return of Christ, as far as like whose mother is who and who is that and who is that, because, people want to go back and know who they were. I'm only focused on what God shows me when I need to know it. So that's the difference. Okay. So I don't know who Sekhmet's mother was. I don't know who Horus's mother was. I don't know all of these things because I wasn't shown that. All I was shown was my death and calling back my life. my power, my soul peace. And that's what happened. Okay. So in Sekhmet, Horus was murdered by Thoth, which comes later. Horus returns after that. And he was buried in the Sphinx. So Sekhmet built the Sphinx over Horus where he died. And that was also the portal of time. Okay. So I used that. I activated that when I was awakening the sun. You guys, these are relevant. You need to understand this because all this has been done. So if all these powerful shifts have been done and all darkness has been removed from the earth and all Christ's light has been returned, the sun has been moved, the moon has been moved, all darkness has been removed from them. They've both been reborn. They both have full power and they're both expanding. And I'm getting so many chills when I'm telling you this. This is so important for you guys to know. Extremely. Okay. And if this is one of my longer videos and you get bored, that's on you because God is vast. The work I do is vast and it takes time to process. And that should be the most important thing you're doing right now, because if you found me, there's a reason. Okay. I'm not the one you want to mock. Trust me. But I am so real. I spark people's shadow. People can't see past that. Judgments rise. They throw them at me. They don't watch the videos and it breaks my heart because it's a gift to be able to. Okay. I feel lucky to be able to do this and bring this through and see it all, to see the truth, to know the truth, to heal my whole entire lifetimes back to wholeness, and to know that the entire earth is now the Garden of Eden and anything outside of her cannot stay. Okay. So when I talk about the sun and the moon, it's quite deep. I did so much work to them. Horus is returned. And after Sekhmet returned, I got the full power of the sun returned. And then we returned the full power of the sun to the earth, a new grain ridge recently in the 13 days of healing. Okay. Horus returned, his soul rose from the Sphinx, and the Sphinx lost all life after that. The purpose was served. It's done. And his soul rose and found my DM and aligned. Okay. So he got the fragment of the only fragments I didn't see coming back was Adam and Eve, but that's because I don't know why. I just know that I cleared those and I saw myself reborn, okay, in Lake Titicaca. And they showed me I was Eve. And so he's Adam and I'm Eve. And I know what happened to us and how we were separated. It was very painful. And Jesus and Mary Magdalene is when our souls were ripped apart. Okay, I felt it. They were ripped apart, like tearing. It was horrible, horrible, painful. And I rectified that and I brought us back together. And that truly happened to me and my DM in real time at the same time. Okay. So something you need to know. It's not normal to have a soul go, but I felt it. I saw it. My life shift. I changed. I was no longer just who I was. I became two people. It's so weird. And it's been a very difficult journey. It's literally like two people operating the same ship. Right. And my new DM said that. And I'm like, that makes so much sense. I heard him say that telepathically. It's like it's two people controlling the same ship. I'm like, I know. And yet we don't have full, like, I don't know what's really going on with him. And the shadow always tries to wreak havoc. So guys, there's so many details to this. But now let's get into the sun and the moon. So the sun and the moon have been reborn. All power of Christ is returned, you guys. That is not a joke. From every lifetime, all the way back to the beginning of time. Then I took us into 7D. So Atlantis is rising, but she's also ascending. So the earth is completely reborn into 7D. We are part of now the Pleiades galaxy. And I have been moving planets in ever since. We have to do brain activations. You have to evolve. Okay. These are important to understand because if you're not there yet, these portals are really going to mess with you. All right. Certain portals are going to be more of a struggle than others. Do you understand what I'm saying? So some people go through portals and they're like, I see the light. It feels so good. I'm seeing truth. It's like blah, 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 because they don't have shadow blocking them. And then they'll hit the next portal and it's like, bam, slammed on their ass and everything's difficult. And all these shadow pieces are rising. Okay. So not every person has darkness in every portal, but you all have some and some of them. Okay. And it is your job to know what to do with that darkness. It is your job to clear all karma back to the beginning of time. Okay. The only way I do it for you is in the path to righteousness. That's why not everybody can have that. That's only for the purest of hearts. All right. Trust me. I know this. God showed me this. Plus I've tried to give it away to like people I know and love, and they couldn't even click the link. It would disappear. Like, that's not a joke. Okay. So I do what God tells me to do. Do you? Because that is a key. So I told you at the beginning of the month that June, I did a video about June. June was a heart activator. this portal, your heart must be pure enough. And it's also a sacral indicator, because Lake Titicaca, the sun, it's all the sacral of the earth. Makes sense? Reproductive area, love. I have a new pyramid I built at Lake Titicaca. They called it mine, and they said that is the actual sacral chakra. Okay, so Fiji is the root. Lake Titicaca is the sacral. And that is true. That is what God showed me. That is also what I healed. So the summer solstice on the 21st, 20th, 3 days, you're already in the energy. You hear me? So you might be getting your butt kicked. If you're anchored into the matrix, it's just going to blind you more. You feel me? You actually have to do the right things to use the energies wisely, to rise up, to see better, to see clearer, to heal, and to make it through the portal. Okay. You're not just given access. Trust me. You only make it to the new earth if you have a pure heart. If you clear all your karma. God doesn't judge you. It's up to you. So for the summer solstice, I'm gonna get into this now. Okay. Are you still with me? I hope you are, you guys, because all of this is relevant. And I've got so many chills on this message. It's important for you to know. There are lessons coming through. Okay. You are in the path of lessons timeline, but I've told you that you're in a karmic pathway. This is all, that's why they call it the wrath of God. It's because anything that was done against God has to be rectified. Shifting realities and altered skies, releasing all disguise. Okay, this is a portal. This is a very big portal. I don't focus on every portal, but this portal is extremely massive. And I'm getting chills. It's very important. You have the feminine sun followed by the full moon. Shifting realities and altered skies, releasing all disguise. So you're just going to have exposures, okay, into you. And it's going to be vulnerable, and it's going to vulnerability and expansion. Okay, that came next. Okay, be aware of feelings of anger and rage and fear. You cannot accept those. You cannot let those dictate you. You have to choose against those with love. Pushing you out of your comfort zone. All right. So even if you anchor into the matrix, because you can by choice, you don't have to stay here. You don't have to rise to God. The only way to be with God, though, is to stay in the new earth, because God has returned. Okay. So when you die, there's 2 places you can go. You either never will know life this way. You will go somewhere else. That's what they call the old earth, or what some would call being with El Diablo, right? God doesn't call it that, though. God doesn't use certain words. God doesn't say hell. God doesn't. The reason why it's depicted as burning, because I've seen that when I do the work, the earth will burn because it doesn't align with Christ's light. Okay, but it's not punishment. It just doesn't align with Christ's light. That's why they removed all of Christ's light. You understand? You feeling me now? So as it returns, what doesn't align will burn, either energetically or physically. Okay. So these energies have to push you out of your comfort zone, because some people won't change until they have to. You know what I mean? They want to, but they won't until they have to. And this is a timeline where you can't repeat these. You don't get to come back here unless you rise to God. Okay, you don't. You will go to the other side and you can clear karma there, which takes a lot longer to do. Okay. And then everybody else will never be here again. They won't stay here. They will go to a different space and time, and they will live on what you would probably call hell. Okay. So that's the return. That's what God told me. Some will go, some will stay. So earth isn't dying. I rebirthed her, and you have to rebirth with her to stay. You have to rebirth into God to stay. And I've seen the gates. I know what I have to do to get you through the gates. It's real. Revelations 21, 12, and 13, baby. Okay. So vulnerability is going to be felt. Shifting realities and altered skies, releasing all disguise. You guys, these are big. So the sun is in full power. Here's the thing about that. You know how many solar flares we've had? Since New Gingrich, they've been nonstop. So I went to New Gingrich because after Atlantis fell, that's where some of the refugees went. That was not Lemuria, though. Okay. Darkness split off and created Lemuria. So this is the Atlantic Lemurian War. Literally. Okay. So, but the ones of the light went to New Gingrich, Ireland, and they created a portal. They were like gods, right? And they did some chanting there, and they created this energetic portal there. Now, recently, since all the Christ's return, we went back there during the 13 days that I uploaded recently. And I brought down all the sun into the ley lines, and I activated once again the true ley lines, not the ones you think they were. Mount Shasta is cut off completely. There is no energy there. All of California is dead to the earth. That's not a joke. Okay. I know what's going to happen. And you can watch that in Mount Shasta 1 and 2. And by the way, part 2, I was not supposed to do alone. My DM was supposed to be with me, and God said I didn't even have to do it, but I left no stone unturned. I did it all by myself if I had to. And so I cried a lot in that one. It was very painful. But you have to consider the summer solstice is happening right now, and all of the sun energy has been filled back into the ley lines, you guys, and this is an activation portal. Okay. So because I did the work before this portal, I brought down all the sun into here. Listen to me now. This is so very important. Please listen to me, because you got to understand it, and it's beyond our understanding. Okay. So hopefully you can feel it something. But I literally took the sun and I shoved it into the ley lines of the earth. So as the summer solstice is rising and we are in the full alignment and power of the sun, it's going to completely activate that within the earth, and it should be activating it within you. But I will tell you right now, most people are not where they should be because of the mishaps, because of the judgments, because the shadow has wreaked havoc. Okay. The resistance, Spirit calls it a lot. The resistance wreaked havoc, and it got a lot of you. It's really sad. And that actually hurts me when that happens, and I like begin to shut down, and that's what I battle. Okay. Yeah. So this summer solstice, things are going to feel strange and oftentimes rearranged because of the work that I did. Okay. You are going to feel like you don't know who you are anymore. But even more, okay, the earth ain't going to know who you are anymore unless you rise to her. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? Because I changed the earth so much, I removed all darkness from her. I brought down all Christ's light. I cleared the sun and the moon. I shifted her. I shifted him. I moved the poles and added 5 more. You cannot have darkness and shadow and remain here. Okay, so each portal that rises where people anchor into that matrix, they set their timeline of exit. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So when this sun comes down, these are light code activations, and it's going to activate within the earth. And if you're not healed enough, she ain't going to know you exist here. You have to realign to her, and then you will be able to receive these light codes. So even if you're a little behind and you're like through the portal or the second portal, you haven't made it to this one yet in healing, sometimes that's okay. If you're on the right path, or you're doing the work, right? Everything is in your time. So the light code activations will lay dormant, and when you get there, you will activate in them. But if you don't choose wisely through the lessons in disguise as this portal rises, you will not have an opportunity. Are you feeling me now? That's the return of Christ, okay? So when I tell you, you guys, you have to evolve. You have to DNA activate to the earth. When I do a lot of these workshops and things, still to this day, we go in, I move in new planets, I activate more chakra systems. We have some of those that do my work have 10 internal. I have hundreds, okay? I'm a different chakra system. When I got a walk-in DM, I saw God activate his chakra system, and it was vast, you guys. I was like, boo, 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 like all these chakras. We have thousands. He and I. But most of you have your 7 base chakra systems internal. You should now have 10, okay? Or at least rising to that. And I'm going to tell you right now, not enough do, okay? Because even those that rose with me that choose not to help others, you're dimming your light and theirs too. Okay, this is real. And even the 144,000 didn't rise to where they should be. So the trees are active, and I rebirthed those yesterday. They are rebirthing. The 144,000 should be rebirthing right now. There's a few of them that are. The rest are not yet. Okay. So I don't know how to explain to you, but as this summer solstice is rising, it's going to activate all the light that I brought into the earth, and a big, huge poof is going to occur in an energy vortex. That's why all of these solar flares are also happening. Did you see there was even a being by the sun? I'm going to tell you why here in just a second. You guys, this is so important. Please hear this. Recently, they had video of even somebody being by the sun during those solar flares. Now, God showed me why. Okay. So with this summer solstice, things are going to feel strange, oftentimes rearranged. The sun frequencies have changed. Okay. And if they can't change within you, what needs to change within you, it's going to hit your shadow tenfold, and chaos will ensue, because where our brain and our heart are not aligned, chaos becomes our time. Okay. I also undid the false concept of time. So you guys need to be expanding. Then that followed by a changed moon. Oh, buddy. And the moon that I see, the energy coming for the full moon is, okay. So we have sun goat activations coming in, and then we have, and I'm saying he is aware. He is not done. That's what I'm hearing. The DM is not done. He is not finished. He has not gone anywhere. And that's what they're saying. Okay. So we need to help to deeply highlight and remove. Okay. So we have the sun followed by the changed moon, which helps to deeply highlight and then remove. You can activate deep grief. So this could activate deep grief, right? So where you have shadow, it's going to activate. Where you need to heal, it's going to boom, hit it hard. All right. Hidden within, okay, the longing for love, not karmic patterning. So this will destroy more karmic relationships. It should. Some people fight that though. Do you fear change? Okay. Don't like to feel strange and rearranged? Find a new comfort zone, because you don't have a choice. The earth is changing. And if you don't rise with her, she's going to start kicking you out. All right. And also, I've spread the gods around the earth, you guys. So every storm, everything that you're seeing right now is God directed, God derived, because I've cut off all their power. They are still spraying chemtrails, but it's the freaking sicknesses and stuff. Okay. So they're releasing like bugs that aren't even of God, and they carry diseases. All right. So if you think that there isn't chemical warfare, chemtrails, chemical warfare, let's put it together. They did mess with your weather. They shortened your season patterning. And when I went to new grain grid, I undid all that. Okay. So our seasons will expand. Plus, when I shifted the poles, it was like all multiple in the sun and the moon movements and stuff. So our seasons will now, that's what messed with your weather patterning, was all that they did to your poles, the sun and the moon and all of that. Okay. And then the chemtrails are there to keep us down. They would block us from the sun. They would do all of these things to you. Okay. Make you sick. It's not just in our foods, it's everything. Okay. It's everything. And that's what they would do, but it's all been undone. Doesn't mean they still don't try to do certain things. Now, this is going to lead me into what they're going to do, okay? So then God said, the energy of Jesus needs to shift. Or actually, it was the angels. The energy of Jesus needs to shift. Masculine to feminine, Adam and Eve return, not just Jesus. Okay. So when people look at me and they're like, oh yeah, Jesus did this, you don't know who I am. I'm the bride of Christ. That's my DM. That's half my soul. Okay. We have the same soul split in two, and then I have a feminine aspect and he has a masculine. All right. So if you say Jesus, that's me too. But do I even get the respect as that? Oh no, far from it. Okay. So we need to shift. We need to understand that it's the return of Adam and Eve. And that's what God is asking, especially of the DM. All right. Then we had, like I said, it was light code activations on their way from Sekhmet and the sun. Not all can or are ready to receive these. Okay. So it's going to hit you hard if you're not. All right. You're going to have lessons to unfold. Gabriel, Jophiel, and Haniel are who came through for this message. Okay. So it is the rising of the saints. Rituals of darkness are being performed in enlarged forms. So remember I said somebody was going to the sun recently. They saw something like that. First of all, it couldn't be us, right? But aliens are present, you guys. I don't know if you're still unaware of that, but they've always been here. There's good ones, and then there's ones that are not of God. Okay, so there are lots of beings here that don't carry a soul. They don't have the light of God. They're different, all right? And those sparked from the fallen. And this is what the war was all about, okay? Lemurian Atlantic warfare. It was galactic. It wasn't just the earth, okay? So they were taking over different things. But right now, you guys, I need you to hear this. Please, please let me know you're still here. If you're still watching this video and you respectfully care about this stuff and your heart is open to hearing it, just comment, I am love. Okay. Or I am light. Comment, I am light. Let's fight the darkness with some light. because right now and into this portal, you guys have to understand something. They know this portal is powerful and they want to get every soul they possibly can from God. Okay. That's their whole point. That's why the return of Christ is happening right now, because they were taking you all away from the light, especially those V's and everything else. There's a reason why those were pushed. Those that took that are going to really fall ill even more from this. They're going to deactivate even more because they cannot receive Christ light activations. These are activations of God. Okay. So right now they are performing rituals of darkness. They're being performed in enlarged forms. And what I see, what God is showing me, is there is still like, and it's probably under the White House or something. It's in like underground stuff. Okay. They try to use the earth. They know what's been undone. But they are using things. They are trying to wreak havoc. I even see beings that are not human. Okay. So not just like lizard people, you guys, these are others. I feel like they have summoned more aliens here. And these are not good ones. There are good ones here. There's like a docking station, what some would call a mothership, that will expose herself soon. And there are Pleiadians here. There are different beings here that are actually watching you. They're actually watching this process. They're watching it all unfold. Okay. But they have summoned other aliens here, and it's going to make it look like there's an alien warfare, an attack, but that's fear. But it's also because they're performing rituals of darkness. Okay. They're going to try to confuse you. They're going to put like a veil of darkness, they're going to attempt to, they are right now over this portal, because if you can't activate in this portal, they win. But they're also pissed. When I was doing the pyramid activations and things, if you truly watch them, which I know most of you did not, because if you really listen to what I say in there, I say a lot of times they're going to retaliate. They don't like what I'm doing. They don't like what I'm doing, and they know the Holy Grail has been undone. It wasn't holy. It was Jesus's blood. Okay. That's why the anointing of the blood of Christ. They know the pyramids have been shifted. They know all their power is done. I have cut all darkness off from the earth. Do you understand me? So they are literally trying to reestablish their connection to the earth. And while they're doing that, they are trying to hurt as many people as they can, because they like that. They feed off of your soul and your energy and God's light. That is why in the return of Christ part, I stated what was done in the darkness cannot be carried to the light. And what was done in the light cannot be stolen by the darkness or used by them anymore. I need you to understand this, you guys, because if you want to make it through this portal, these are all the keys, okay? If you can actually hear me and do what you need to do, you're good. If you want to throw judgments at me, that won't help you. Okay, so you don't have to believe me, just watch. Oh, sorry. My son's getting his permit tomorrow, and they're like, your DMV permit is, and I thought it said today. I was like, no. Okay, I'm good. All right. My middle's getting his permit. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. Anyways. So what I'm trying to tell you is this portal is so potent and it's so Christ light activating. And if your DNA is not healed, if you're not viable, you cannot activate. Some people are not ready for it. Okay. Some people will not ever get it. But this is Sekhmet and the sun activations on the 20th. And then we go into the 21st on the moon. Oh, you guys, this is, and he is my DM. That's Horus returned. He's returned. When Horus returned, he got the necklace with the light of the moon. So he carries the energy of the moon, and I carry the energy of the sun. It's like the staff, and it's in my head, and I see these snake eyes. And on my path, I had to cough up 3 snakes. It's like a power upgrade 3 times. So snakes were relevant to Sekhmet. Okay. So you need to detox. You need to detox, because anywhere you have muck and yuck and meat and things of lower vibration or shadow, this is going to mess with you. These rituals of darkness are going to hit you hard. They're going to cut you off more from the light. They're going to mess with your psyche. They're going to get in your head, the collective mind junk. So don't be mindful. Be self-aware. You need to detox. You need necessary body strength to make it through this. Okay. And I think even De La Roca has talked about that. Your immune system needs to be high. Chemical detox now. Okay. Not only are they performing rituals, they're trying to make you sick. Okay. Those chemtrails, I've seen it left and right and in different energies. Lots of spirits are present right now on this planet, other entities included, from darkness to light. Okay. We are not alone. There is like 10-fold double what was here before this. When I activated the pyramids, I said they were beacon for aliens too. They were a beacon for galactic travelers, is what Spirit calls them. So there are lots of spirits present right now here on this planet, and people are feeling it, people know it, but that also can spark fear. And they have other entities included. So some of those are helping them with the dark rituals, because consider they're not human either, right? You have your lizard people or whatever you want to call them. Biden's one of them. I've seen their skin fall off. So is Prince Charles, King Charles, and his wife Camilla. Like, there's a lot of them here, and they're your leaders. Okay, so they're literally, and then they just steal souls. Okay, Diddy is not the puppet master, but some people are thinking he is. He is just one of their puppets who did a lot of damage and had a lot of control. All right. So there's dark rituals for the purpose of sabotage. Okay, that's going to get to you. It's going to try to get you to sabotage. Taking back power, and that's been hitting me hard too. This is why I need a lot of strength, because my DM is not with me, so I'm vulnerable. Taking back your power, creating fear and turmoil, unleashing darkness. Okay, so not only is this portal a chance for some to rise, it's going to be a battle tenfold in disguise. They are literally performing dark rituals, and it's going to fully flow through the moon and the summer solstice portal. Okay, so they won't stop until about 2 or 3 days after, is what Spirit's saying. So we need to unleash the light and love. Okay, if they're doing rituals of darkness, we need more rituals of light. All right, now I'm not a witch. I don't believe in witchy magic. But some of that is not all darkness either. Spirit showed me the Wizard of Oz was actually quite true. They talk about killing the white witch and the dark witch rose. Okay, white light, darkness. All right, it's all the same. It's all relevant. It's all together. Okay, so when you use the term witch, I just don't like the term. Okay, we are either light healers or we are not. We are either of the light or we are not. So you are either doing dark rituals or you are doing light. It all depends on if your heart is pure and true. All right. So we need to unleash the light and love. We need rituals of discipline. You need to be connecting. You need to keep your vibration high. And let me tell you, if you rose through the portal and you're not doing these things, you are cutting yourself off. You can be removed. Okay. You also will have to be removed from mine, because you can't pull me down. So much love is required right now. This is the DM and DF's place of flight. That was tricky. So much love is required right now. This is the DM and DF's place of flight. This is where we should be unite, right? Like, we should be flying in love, and we should be helping to unite love, and we should be helping to bring love. But also I'm seeing is this portal is for him and I to take flight. Like, we are in full power when we are together. We are in full power energetically, but when we come together physically, it's off the charts. Okay, that is the event. All of this light, you guys don't understand. All of this light is like this big whoosh. Okay, so it's time to make everything right. DM, it is time to make everything right. If you've never heard me before, hear that. So you guys, I have a message for the moon as well. I know this is a video that's long, but this is important because this is your week ahead. Tools to use: tourmaline. I have pink tourmaline. I love this. I didn't even know it really existed until recently. I found it and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is natural pink tourmaline. I have black tourmaline surrounding me. You know, crystals of divination are very important. They also have turmeric on here for tools this week to help. Topaz, amethyst, agate or agate, moonstones, jasper, watermelon aventurine. One must be healing a lot. Okay, you have to be balanced from the heart space required. Heart must be your guide. If you are not there, you are anchoring into the shadow. Okay, or you're rising out of it, right? So if you're not there and you are able to rise and see above it all, and then you rise out of it and you make it through the portal, you choose through your lessons, then you get your activations. Okay, but if you are shadow component, if you are governed by the shadow, guided by the darkness, if you fall into the fear, if you're not rising and healing enough and heart-centered and working on being balanced from the heart center, allowing love to be your guide only, those are the tools, those are the keys to rise. Otherwise, and so even hearing me and throwing judgment without actually looking and processing and watching it all and probably keeping your mouth shut except for love, you're cutting yourself off from the truth, my friends. Okay, so just don't do that. Just give yourself space and time. I'm not afraid for you to stay with me for the long haul. That's when you're going to see the truth. Okay. The truth always shines through above the shadow. Okay. All right. So to shift with the correct tide, it's a chance to change frequency and energy. Okay. So the earth is going to shift in frequency very powerfully. The sun accompanied by the moon is our time to take flight for the DM and I. Okay. There are activations for him and I coming as well, I'm hearing. So proper actions are required. Okay. You have to make the right choices. You have to choose love. You have to choose God. True God, not a false God, not a false doctrine, not the matrix. You have to be able to see the two. So for the full moon message, riptides, big energy shift. Okay. So we have the summer solstice where all of that is happening. They are trying to hurt and undo everything I did as best they can through you or me or my DM. So we have to stay strong. That's why spiritual discipline is required. Okay. So you have that with the sun and the rituals, and they're going to go through the sun into the moon. They're doing that, and it's going to affect you regardless. So if you're not counteracting those with love and light things and being very positive and staying high and just keeping your heart open and following things that you find, looking for the proof from spirit, allowing spirit to validate what is in front of you instead of throwing judgments and so on, right? You need to be very careful of the shackles that bind because they're going to pull on you big time. Full moon riptides, big energy shift. Okay, so we come off the solar solstice. This is the sun and the moon. This is the DM and DF. This is our time to shine, which the shadow doesn't like, and it's going to try to hurt you. Okay. And if you were once connected to the darkness of the moon, it's going to affect you in different ways, right? Like you need to be releasing these big time. It's not just one release, there's many. Okay. It's a big energy shift. One can't allow their recorded history to be your guide. Okay. That's what they're saying. You can't base what's happening off of what they have told you. You can't base what's happening off what's written in history. They hide the truth from you. They've burned the truth. They've lied. They've manipulated. They divided, and they confused all of you. It's a freaking lie. Okay. You really don't know what happened with Jesus. You don't know what happened with his apostles. You don't really know what happened to Adam and Eve. You do if you watched everything I did, because I didn't know either. I couldn't make this stuff up if I tried. There's no way. I would be beyond genius status. Okay. So further understanding and insight is required, because part of the ascension through the portals is being able to see the truth. Mount Shasta was your veil, the veil that blinds you. The all-seeing eye was put over darkness. I returned it to the Fiji portal of the gods. Okay. The God portal is at Fiji, and it's been returned. So if you do not choose to see the truth and further understanding beyond what meets your eye and beyond what they told you, you blind yourself to. Okay, you anchor into that. Now this moon has a Hertz frequency that came through, so it will probably be on my Friday Hertz music, okay, to help you. It's 372 Hertz frequency for the moon. Okay, the moon is shifting frequency. It's 372 Hertz frequency. Allow your strength to see you through. You have to allow your strength to see you through. So what does that mean? The shadow is going to try to confuse you and blind you and make you judge and make you see things and blah, 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 and make you have excuses and blah, 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 blah. It is your job to rise above that, to choose to see the truth, to choose more love, and to rise. And it takes strength. And this portal, it's going to take a lot more strength, because they are doing darkness rituals, because without the DM here, we are vulnerable, if you want me to be honest. Okay. If he was here with me, it wouldn't be this way so much. It would be somewhat, but not as much. And also Trump probably wouldn't be what it is. Okay. So you need to understand that we have a little bit of a gaping hole. So we need to really, really focus on love. Okay. Another wave of justice is on the upswing. They won't win because love has already won here. The only thing that will happen is they will take you from here with them. Okay. So make no excuses. Keys to stepping through this portal. These are the keys. Okay. Make no excuses. Express only the changes in reality you seek. Truth only to be what anger you speak. Okay, wait. Let me read that better, because that's wrong. These are just things I was channeling. Okay, so let me get it. Express only the changes in reality you seek. That's what got scary for me, because after everything I've gone through, this kind of strength that is required, is sometimes hard to find because I'm still healing. In my DM, like I need him. Like I need his love, I need his protection and support. And so it hits me, and I've been allowing it to take over a little. It takes a lot of strength, okay? So, and the more purpose you have, the harder it's going to be of a hit to keep you down. Express only the changes and reality you seek. Truth only to be what you speak. Okay? This portal, you're going to be presented with anger, fear, grief, and wrath. And when those are all put together, it can really bind you. So make sure you have strength. Make no excuses. So this is what happened throughout history. They would manipulate people of light. They would create fear, division, confusion, anger, grief, and they would divide you, and they would get you to anchor in the darkness through your free will that way. Okay, that's how they always do it. So these are the keys to stepping through. Make no excuses. Do not fall prey to anger, fear, grief, and wrath. Do not follow any of the shackles that bind you, because if you do, you will not rise through. Okay. All right. That was such a long message. I don't know if I'm going to do too much of card reads, but let's go ahead and just pull a couple. Okay. This ended up being a longer video than I expected, but honestly, I do what Spirit wants me to do. So if you choose not to hear it, I don't know what to tell you. Okay. Please do, because it's important. Who would not want to hear God? Actually, you don't realize you weren't hearing God a lot of the times. To hear God is through an open heart. Right? So I've said that, like, allow people that hear the call of God. What does that mean? Do you go out and recruit people? No, those people will find you because they hear the call in their heart to do so. So it won't be with you expecting it. Okay, that's what it means. They hear the call in their heart to follow the heart. The heart guides you only. Love guides you only. Unconditional love, not fear, not ego, not runner mentality. It is time we move on from that. All right. So let's see. What else do we need to know this week coming up ahead? All karmic relationships are going to struggle. Okay. They're not meant to be together anymore. So they are falling apart. People are resisting that change and they don't like it, but honestly, there's no reason to. So make sure you're focusing on healing and rising above. And if you're afraid to be alone, that's a problem. Sometimes being alone is what we need to see clearly. Okay. It's a way to heal. All right. I love this. Okay. So this is pretty important. I'm hearing one more card. I like this message though. So one of them is earth pulsing, pulse of the mother, slow down, time and nature. Okay. So when I tell you, I brought down all the sun to the ley lines and the sun is about to activate them with the summer solstice. Best place for you to be. I told you, if you're not activated with the earth, you won't stay here. She's alive. Her DNA will connect to your DNA. And as long as you can do that, you can stay here. That's the Garden of Eden. If you can't connect to her DNA, you don't belong here. The earth is very well aware of who is going to stay and who is not, because she will probably purge you off of here. Some of you. Okay. So you need to understand that. It is super, connecting to the earth is not just a theory. It's not a metaphor. It is something very real. She has to read your DNA or you won't stay. All right. So that's why they push those V's. If your DNA is not viable, you're screwed. All right. So can people heal? Yeah, but they have to actually be seeking God and not a false doctrine God. Okay. Because there's a lot of darkness there and it anchors you in. All right. So you actually have to remove the religion complex. I told you that. So we have earth pulsing, pulse of the mother, slow down, time and nature. Oh, we got more than that. Okay. They said one more and there was 3 more that came out. So I got 6 cards in total. You're not for everybody. Embrace your weirdness and face your true north. Okay. Codependency relationships wreak havoc. All right. If you're afraid of people judging you and condoning you, then you anchor into their judgments. They're not for you. Okay. You're not for everyone. Not everybody's going to like you. They're not meant to. Some of them are here to just provoke you. They're here to throw that at you. Embrace your weirdness. We're not here to fit in. We're here to change the world, and we have to do that on an inner journey. So embrace your weirdness, face your true north. Okay. If you can't do that, if you can't step up to what God calls you to do, you're hurting yourself, but not only yourself, many others too. You're not alone. Isolation, physical connection, and community. This is why that came through. If you're afraid to be alone, it will hurt you. Okay. So if God wants you alone, be alone. It's okay. It's temporary. Isolation, physical connection, and community. So if you find yourself separated from those you're used to and you feel very vulnerable and you don't like being alone, there are ways to get physical connection in a new community. Okay. Because as your vibration shifts, you should separate from those that match that vibration and find new ones that match your new vibration. Okay. But sometimes God wants us in the space of isolation because that is when we can see clearly. That is when we go in more, and that is when we do our most growth. Okay. So there's multiple components of that. You're not for everybody. And if some people leave you, know that you're not alone. Okay. You will find others. I promise you. But that shouldn't be your focus anyways sometimes, right? Call on the support, call on the right community, call on spirit to guide you, and they will. You guys, I can't make these cards up. Then we have Star Brothers, Horus energy. Horus energy. So we have here Earth pulsing. We have the Earth energy, right? Mother Earth, the sun. Then we have Horus energy, the moon. Okay. I love how it's Horus and not Thoth. Oh, some things tell you Thoth was the god. That's because he killed Horus. Horus energy, protection, loyalty, safety, trust. I told you Horus is our protection. Without him being here, we're more vulnerable. That is absolutely true. If he was right here next to me, people would see, we would be in full power. There would be more rising, and we would be so protected. Way more than we are now. Okay. So we need to understand that. But with the moon, we can still draw in that energy. Okay. You can still call on that energy. He's very here. He's very alive. He's not done. He's active. Okay. The moon is there. So we need to understand that there is a way to rise through this darkness into protection and love and light. There is the right communities to follow through. There is the right places to be. And if you find one of those, like you found me, there's a reason. So don't throw shade at it. Okay. Just simply be. You're not meant for everybody. All right. And so you need to accept that if you find me and I'm weird and you're afraid to show that, or if you're afraid to be a part of that, that's judgment. Okay. Those kinds of things. We need to understand that the world is shifting and you need to shift too. The courageous peony, multifaceted, unique nature, let yourself be seen. So we have two cards here. One says, you're not for everybody. Face your true north. And now you have to let yourself be seen. And then we also have the Horus card. This is irrelevant. I feel like there's a DM message here too. And I'm hearing there is. So with this one, we have wait. It's not yet time. Things are being woven. Okay. So what this one talks about is in creation, we expect instant transmutation. We expect instant receiving. We expect instant things. And you don't realize is there's a vast work of energy working around you. Okay. So you need to let go of the concept of time and expectations. You need to be still and in that energetic flow and following those nudges from the heart space. And that is all you got to do. Okay. And then everything will come as the energies align for it to come through. All right. So I say you also got to just be open. So this wait card is saying let go of expectations. Okay. Let go of fear, let go of expectations. I think ego dictates that. People want instant gratification. They want instant proof. They want all of this kind of stuff. And that's all shadow components. Spirit is vast. God is vast. And it takes being still to see it. And that's what this one's talking about. You hear me? It takes being still to see it. And you're not for everybody. If stepping into your truth causes people to hurt and judge you or throw fear your way, it's not a real reality unless you anchor into it, number one. And number two, you're not for everybody. You need to let yourself be seen for your unique individual light that you are, because certain people have certain things to do for a reason. Okay. They're here to change the world, not stay the same. We can't. It's already changing. So you either change with her and rise to the pureness of who you are through God, and let go of all karmic ties. And those are the shackles that bind, right? Fear of intimacy, self-esteem issues. I got to heal that too because of my physical vessel taking a hit, right? These are all things we need to understand. You've got to allow yourself to be vulnerable to judgments. And De La Roca did a video about, oh, you passed the test, right? The test of judgment or whatever it is. God doesn't necessarily test you. He just asks for his warriors. Where are his warriors in strength? Those who are willing to stand in love and stand with him no matter what others throw at you. I had to do it. Allow yourself to be yourself. Accept everybody who you are, and change the world. Okay. I became alone. I became judged. I became isolated. But I had to be. And I just kept following God, and God gave me everything I needed when I needed it from the right places. And if I couldn't get somebody physically, they would give me so much love energetically. All right. And then good things would come through. It's just, there's so much shadow trying to pull me down, including through the people that are surrounding us. Okay. So you need to understand that. You need to realize that we are multifaceted, unique in nature. We need to let ourselves be seen. Okay. There's Horus energy. We need the protection. We need the loyalty. We need the safety, and we need the trust. We are not alone. There's new communities. There's new connections. There can be physical connections of another kind if you allow them to be. We need to connect to the earth, the pulsing of the mother. We need to slow down and be still. And just allow God to guide you. Do not fall prey to anger, fear, grief, wrath, and excuses. Okay? This is a very big week ahead, my friends. So very big, so very important message. All right. So on that note, I'm going to provide a little bit of a healing, just a little bit of an energy healing. I have pink amethyst aura. This is angel auric pink amethyst. I have my chevron amethyst, my blue kyanite here. Okay. And I'm just going to call these in, and I'm just going to cleanse our energy, just really gently cleansing our energy. That way we can do what we need to do for this week ahead. Okay. To help us on our path for this week ahead. And this is more amethyst, angel auric amethyst. I have lots of that. I have my Pleiadian howlite crystal, which, by the way, when I had my awakening, Spirit told me to call on this crystal for healing. And that was the first snake I puked up out of my solar plexus. It was pretty awesome. And I was like, what was that? And it was a power upgrade. And that was when I undid certain things of darkness in the path. I would puke up snakes out of my energy. And those were my power upgrades when I was calling my power back. It was pretty badassery. And then we have purple grape goddess agate. Okay. Blue heart, angel auric calcite. And like I said, my pink tourmaline. All right. So I'm going to call your energy into all of these crystals, and even the hertz frequency that is required for the moon to help you release and activate. Okay. So we have 372 hertz frequency being called in. Okay. So if you wish to receive this, just say yes. I call in the energy of this portal vortex, the sun and the moon, the full energy that is coming around you at this time. I call on protections of another kind to allow the darkness to be realigned to where it needs to go, back to where it came from. Okay. Those rituals are undone and cannot undo love. I call on the protection of the sun and the moon, the water, the earth, the soul, Father Sky, Mother Earth. I ask of you to help us remain whole and rise above to the love of the one. I'm going to use chevron amethyst now and clear above your head. Okay. So I'm going to clear above your head all of the energy and a crown chakra activation. Clearing the muck because the shadow gets into the head. Now I'm being told to release all ties of fear. So I'm going to draw this down, and I'm going to find fear. Whoop. We release the ties of fear, where fear guides you. Ooh, I feel one in my heart, like this tie of fear. Oh, yeah. Blue kyanite with the chevron amethyst. Releasing doubt, releasing judgment, releasing ego. And I will also help with grief. So I'm being called to help with grief that rises through this portal. Water. I'm calling in the water element too. Justice. Bianco lantara eu. Kumpala tada e kumpundua. Hukia. Wait. You want to know something? Right before I got on this video, I heard just go smoke a bowl. Like, nobody cares. No, I was so close. So I feel this actually going into the heart. I see it going into your heart at this time. So I have new symbols that I'm doing. So just bear with me. This is heart chakra activation, open and clearing. Grief removal through the ripting tides. So it has to do with water. The water is coming in to calm and release the grief. Balanta you kupuy tarai kompawala tarayu kumpai anta wantai dionko Kiampalantarai Yampawa Iunkoa Kampai Anta Tawantarai Tarakiampatawa Utu Baito. All right, and then from there, they want me to use the grape agate and the pink tourmaline as well as the pink amethyst. Okay. To help open the heart and anchor everything into the earth. So I need to do the root chakra activation here. I just saw this line going from your root all the way to the earth, just like whoa, opened up, and this massive connection just went boom, down to the earth. Does that mean that you are completely ready? No, but it'll help you see. It'll help you be. It'll help you be present in the right time. We can, if we're balanced and we're grounded, we can see and we can move clearly and we can redirect and realign and clear and love. So if you could see energy, I'm literally like sparking off light to you. Now, sacral. Comment, I am love. I receive this healing. No more Hertz frequency going through from the earth. 374. Activating the sun and the moon, the eye of Horus and the eye of Ra. Ooh. So as I was doing that, something just came to me too about Horus. You know, I can't make it up when I was talking about the moon and the Horus and full moon, and we're going through the sun solstice to the full moon, and we have Horus card being pulled. Okay. Like there's so many validations for what is here right in front of you. I'm going to end this and close this off with some pink tourmaline now. And some pink amethyst or angel auric pink amethyst. I feel called to do this. It's like I'm shoving sparks of healing your way, shoving sparks of healing from these crystals. Protection is like so much sparks of protection, light of protection coming through. We are not united in community. If we are not united in love and light, we are in trouble. It is time, Deanne, to make everything right. It is time to make everything right in the eyes of God and the eyes of the One. Because if we don't, nobody else can. If you don't, nobody else can. I'm excited. I hope you are. I am aware of self. It is time for you to be more aware of yourself than you ever have before. So much love to all of you. Stay safe, and I hope you make it through this door. Till next time.